I've found the one day this year that I'm okay with you guys not watching WAND News at 4 o'clock, and that was on Tuesday night when Illinois' bowl game kicked off at 4:30. I get it. You could have watched the first half hour, but I get it. You're watching the pregame. All good. Now we go back to watching every single day at 4 o'clock. We got a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk football, men's basketball, a little bit of women's basketball too, and then we're also going to get some college football thoughts, playoff thoughts, and give you some predictions as well. Men's basketball ended their non-conference schedule with a win against Southern. Now they turn to the Big Ten slate. That starts on Saturday with Penn State. Women's basketball is off to a really good start, guys, if you haven't noticed. But let's start down in Nashville. Illinois versus Tennessee, Music City Bowl, a walk-off kick from David Alano, 30-28. If you're watching this on New Year's Eve last night, it was a fun game. It was really the first fun game, in my opinion. Northwestern was kind of fun, but the most really fun game since USC, and that was in September. It's a tale of two halves for this Illinois team. Really, the offense too. The first half was kind of a mess, a little bit. They drive down the field to start the game, turnover on downs at the 33-yard line. Then they come back, score a touchdown, and then next drive they turn it over on downs, this time at the 29-yard line. I didn't love a lot of the play calling down there on that second one. And then they finish off the half of the field goal. So it was a little bit up and down. They moved the ball effectively on every single drive, but a couple of missed opportunities there. It's 10-7 at the half. Defense is playing really well. The offense, like I said, is moving the ball, but they're not closing in the end zone. The good thing, though, is that with Tennessee's high-flying offense, they're controlling the ball and they're keeping that offense off the field. And then it all felt like it came together there in the second half. Scored on 3 out of 4 drives, 20 total points there in the second half for the offense. And Luke Altmaier really didn't have to do much because they did something that they haven't done all year, really, and that's lean on a team in the second half and really physically impose their will through the run game. And that's what they did in the second half. Tennessee's defense was clearly tired. They couldn't keep up with the run game. And then I said Luke Altmaier didn't have to do a lot. He didn't have to do a lot through the air. He was effective once again running the football, which is something that they started doing about 5 games ago, and it's really worked out to end the season. And then, of course, the huge play there in the second half with that strip sack return for a touchdown with Illinois' defense. Really impressive in the second half, especially with the run. I said last week that Tennessee's given up about 150 rush yards a game. If Illinois gets that, they win, and they did. They got 150 in the second half. I think it was 220 or so overall. Defensively, I liked the way that Illinois played in this game, specifically, certainly in the first half, and they had to play well because the Tennessee offense got rolling a little bit there in the second half, but overall, I mean, Joey Aguilar did nothing, 14 of 18 for 121. Not much. They ran it a little bit, but we knew that they were going to do that. Deshaun Bishop's a really good back. And like I mentioned, the play of the game, Joe Barna getting into the backfield, strip sacking Joey Aguilar, and then Leon Lowry picked it up. That made it 17-7 early in the third quarter. That was after both teams had already punted once. So that was a huge play. And again, this is one of the best offenses in the country so far this year. And they had to find it late, did Illinois' team. Just over 5 minutes left in the game. And it seems like Illinois has control. And then bang, Tennessee runs back a kick to take the lead. It's 28-27. So we're going to find out again what Luke Altmaier, what this offense is made of. And it's just systematic, right down the field. Got a 28-yard run from Aiden Lawfrey that really set them up in prime position to not only maybe score a field goal, kick a field goal like they ended up doing, but maybe score a touchdown. Ended up, they didn't need the touchdown. They were able to wind it all down through the run and just let David Alano have a chip shot. They had a 4th and 1 that they were able to convert just on Tennessee's side of midfield there on that last drive. Like I said, just systematic. You knew what they needed to do, and Luke Altmaier and Aiden Lawfrey, Khalil Valentine, they were all really impressive throughout the game and certainly on that final drive. Here's Coach Brett Bielema and Luke Altmaier after the game talking about that final drive and what they knew was needed.
Really, we had 5 minutes. I knew that if I had a feeling we would be able to score. I didn't know if it was going to be a field goal or a touchdown, but once the drive kind of continued to happen, great execution by Luke on the 3rd and 6 to get him to jump, which made it to 3rd and 1, and then centered it up there for David Delano to hit his game-win field goal. But really knew the ball in Nine's hands. We were going to be in good shape. I was just hoping that we could take it down to minimal clock for our defense. Not that we didn't have confidence, but we just needed to take the air out of their tires and kind of make it all ours.
I didn't really do a whole lot. Our offensive line and Aiden had an awesome play to really put us in a good position, and then we just chipped away, one by one, making plays off of their looks, one at a time. And so we did. A lot of confidence out there, a lot of trust, unity. We've done it before. We remember the moments where we've been in those positions, and we recall them, and it gives us a lot of confidence knowing that we can do it.
I mentioned the USC game a little bit earlier. It's pretty similar to how that one ended. Down a point, you need a drive, and you get really close for your field goal kicker who's been great all year, and there was no question that David Delano was going to bang that through the uprights. Look, I think this is a really good year. It's a great year for Illinois football. You can see the schedule there. You can look at the wins and losses as I read you off some things that they did this year. They beat a ranked USC team. They beat ACC champion Duke, for whatever you want to give credit to that for. They had 9+ wins back-to-back years for the first time ever. Brett Bielema becomes the only coach to have 2 9-win seasons at Illinois. First coach also to win back-to-back bowl games. Caps off a great 2-year stretch, 19-7 overall, 15 Power 4 wins, 11 of them being Big Ten wins. And then they have 2 straight SEC wins, which it was brought to my attention, and I looked into it yesterday, that they had never had one before last year in the Citrus Bowl against South Carolina, and now they have 2 of them. Look, I think this program's in a great place. You can't get lost in the Indiana of everything, like, oh, well, Indiana's already the 1 seed. They won the Big Ten just in year 2 of Curt Cignetti. The exception is not the rule. It's going to take some time to build up Illinois football, and Brett Bielema is clearly on the road to doing that. I think it's another really good year, another great year, and they're in a good spot moving forward. We'll find out about quarterback, hopefully sometime soon, what the plan is there and some other key positions. But I know we came into the year thinking, hey, maybe an outside shot at the playoff. Wasn't quite that, but hey, you've never won nine games in back-to-back years. You do it this year. I don't know how you can argue that it's a disappointment of any kind. Look, we've got a lot of football games still. I know I said that we were going to dive all into basketball, but I just can't quit football. I can't do it. So we're going to talk college football playoff. Tonight, if you're watching on New Year's Eve, Miami and Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl, 6:30 kickoff. Look, I think this game profiles as a slugfest. It's 2 really good defenses. I'm going to show you the worst of the 2 defenses here first, and that's Miami. And this is just an outstanding unit, you can see. Maybe you can get them a little bit in the pass game, but outside of that, there's not a whole lot that they give you. And this is the worst of the 2 defenses in this game. Ruben Bain, Akeem Mesidor, those are the guys on the defensive line. They can blow up a game. Akeem Mesidor did that against Texas A&M. He was outstanding. And, Ohio State, they're not very explosive. They're a grind-you-out kind of offense. So when you get a grind-you-out kind of offense against a really good defense, there might not be a lot of movement. And so that's why I think it kind of profiles as a slugfest type of game. Let's look at the Ohio State defense. Because it's clear that Miami's unit isn't as good because just look at that. I mean, there's nothing that Ohio State gives you. Miami's somewhat gettable, like I said in the past game. Ohio State, you can't even say that they're gettable on the run because they're 5th in the country. I mean, 84 yards a game. There's nothing there. So what can Miami do? Can Mark Fletcher find a couple of creases in the run game? Can Malachi Toney go make a play against this Ohio State defense? I don't know. I don't see a whole lot. I mean, the best offense that Ohio State has played all year is Indiana in the Big Ten championship game, and Indiana scored 13 points. They won the game, but they scored 13 points. Ohio State's not going to lose because of their defense. They're only going to win because of it. So, Miami, a week and a half ago, I guess, they didn't do a whole lot against not a great A&M defense. Not a bad unit, but it's kind of average for Power 4. So like I said, can Mark Fletcher, can Malachi Toney, can Carson Beck make a couple of plays? Because in a game, how I think it's going to play out, you might only need 2 or 3. So I think Ohio State's going to win this game. I think it's inevitable that Ohio State goes on a run. I think Ohio State's going to win. 9.5 points is a lot, though. And I just don't think there's going to be enough points scored in this game for Ohio State to cover that. Could they win 10-0? Yeah, for sure. But to me, it seems like a 17-13 kind of game, and I just think Ohio State has a couple of more guys that can go make a play. In the Orange Bowl, Oregon and Texas Tech. This is New Year's Day, 11 a.m. kick. Another game where both teams have very strong defenses. Slight edge to Texas Tech there. Texas Tech has the best run defense in the country. We've talked about it multiple times on this show, and I think you've heard it probably 50 other places since the season started. Best run defense in the country. But what happens if Oregon finds a crease there early? What happens if you look up at the end of the first quarter and Oregon already has 75 rushing yards? Then it gets a little scary for Texas Tech because they're not doing the one thing that they know that they should be able to do, which is stop the run. Now, Oregon has a better pass defense than Texas Tech, although Texas Tech's pass defense is very good as well, and Oregon's rush defense isn't bad either. So it's 2 very good defenses in this game as well, and it's 2 very good quarterbacks, too, with Dante Moore and Baron Morton. The lone Texas Tech loss this year was when Baron Morton wasn't playing. Dante Moore, first year as a starter, so consistent, has just been so effective every single time out, really, with the exception of the Indiana game, and that's kind of looking more and more like an outlier. He's been really, really good all this year. I mentioned it a little bit with Texas Tech. I really like the team. I am a little concerned that this is probably going to be the first time that they're really tested and really pushed in a game. Even in their BYU matchups, which is probably the best team that they've played all year, you can argue Utah, but it's probably BYU, they just dominated them. They blow out everybody. I don't see a blowout coming, so it concerns me that if it's 24-20 and Texas Tech needs a drive, it's the first time all year that they've had to do that. Like I said, they've blown out everybody. Now, I still think Texas Tech is better. I think they're going to win this game. A little concerned that they haven't been pushed. But at the end of the day, I just love what the team makeup is, and I think people are a little higher on Oregon than they should be, or at least than I am. I mean, Oregon's a 2.5-point favorite in this game. I think Texas Tech wins outright. I just really like the consistency of them all year. They can throw it, they can run it, and they can stop the run and they can stop the pass. They've been consistent all year long doing all 4 of those things. So I'll take Texas Tech to beat Oregon in the Orange Bowl. Let's go down to New Orleans. Ole Miss and Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. This is the exact spot where Georgia's season ended a year ago. And it's a rematch of a game in October in Athens. It was 43-35, Georgia won. If you remember, it was a great back-and-forth game. Ole Miss looked like they had control the entire game until Georgia flipped a switch in the fourth quarter and outscored them 17-0 to win. I think Trinidad Chambliss, Ole Miss's quarterback, is the most dangerous, the scariest quarterback that is in the playoff, because when he gets rolling, there's really not much that you can do. He'll throw it all over on you, and then if you even threaten him in the pocket, he'll take off and run, and he's really quick too. really good runner of the football. So he's pretty terrifying if I'm Georgia, if I'm Kirby Smart, because if he catches a heater, like I said, there's not a whole lot that you can do to stop him. He's got really good skill guys around him. He's got a really good back next to him in the shotgun. So you want to try to take away everything else so that hopefully it's all on his shoulders and he just doesn't quite have enough, because it seemed like that's what happened in the matchup in October, was he just didn't quite have enough left in him in the fourth quarter when they had scored on every single drive before the fourth quarter started. Kewan Lacey, I think he has to get going for Ole Miss. He didn't have a good game against Georgia, and Georgia, in large part, won that game because they outrushed Ole Miss 221-88. On the flip side, Gunnar Stockton, very consistent player. This was his first start last year, was in the Sugar Bowl, and he did not play well. Since then, he's been very good. The entire year, remember Carson Beck blew out his elbow, so he was kind of thrown in there against Notre Dame in the Sugar Bowl, and that's where Georgia's season came to an end 1 year ago. I think Kirby's going to have the dogs ready to bite. If you think that he's not reminding them that this is where it ended last year, you're crazy. So Kirby's going to have this team ready to go. I think I'm going to take Georgia to win this game too. It's hard to say that it's obvious that they're going to be able to beat the same team twice in a year. It's a hard thing to do. We saw it in the SEC championship game. Georgia got it back against Alabama. But I when in doubt in these kinds of games, go with Kirby. So that's what I'm doing here. So I'll pick Georgia to win. 6 points is a lot, but I'll lay the points too. Like I said, when in doubt, trust Kirby Smart in these situations. And then my favorite game of every single year is the Rose Bowl. Alabama and Indiana, man, the Rose Bowl just every year, it delivers. Makes me kind of sick that an SEC team is in the Rose Bowl, but the Pac-12 doesn't exist anymore, so I'll take what I can get. A great American myth that it can't rain at the Rose Bowl is going to be shattered this year. It could be ugly, just a downpour down in Pasadena. But just like every single game this year for Alabama, same thing, all on Ty Simpson, all on his shoulders. They cannot run the ball to save their lives. Jam Miller is expected to play, so maybe that will help them a little bit. He's been in and out all year. They just haven't been able to get any sort of consistency at the running back position. I mean, they were handing it off to Jeremy Bernard last week against Oklahoma, and he's a wide receiver, if you didn't know. So they're trying everything to get the run game going, and they're going to try again because they try to make you have some sort of threat of a running game, but it hasn't worked all year. I don't expect it to start against a really good Indiana defense, so it's all on Ty Simpson. Can he get something from Ryan Williams, from Jeremy Bernard? Now, Jeremy Bernard's been pretty consistently good all year. Ryan Williams has not. So can they get a little bit more out of Ryan Williams in the Rose Bowl in this kind of situation? Indiana, kind of just a juggernaut everywhere. Third in points per game, second in opponent points per game, eighth in yards per game, fourth in opponent yards per game, and they don't even commit penalties. So it's a tough task for Alabama. Alabama, and this is probably going to be the case the rest of the year with teams playing Indiana. Alabama's more talented, but Indiana is probably a better team. And we've just seen that be shown all year with Indiana and with Alabama. I mean, they've lost a couple of games, so Indiana has not lost this year. They've been pushed a couple of times, Penn State, Ohio State, and they were still able to find a way to win. They make you work for everything. And, we've talked a little bit about how Alabama hasn't had really any semblance of a run game at all this year. They can still win without a run game. They've done it a lot this year. I mean, against Oklahoma in the first round, they had, I think, 28 rush yards, and they still won somewhat convincingly. So they can do it. I'm not going to pick them to do that, though, just because I think Indiana is just, at the end of the day, I think they're a better football team. 7 is a lot of points, especially considering the possible pour down that we might see in Pasadena. I'll have Alabama cover, keep it close. I think it'll be a competitive game for sure, but I think Indiana at the end of the day is a better team. Should we talk basketball? Should we talk Illinois basketball? I think we should, because we are getting into the thick of it here as the calendar turns to 2026. They closed out their non-conference schedule with a blowout win of Southern. I think that game was on Monday. Monday, I think. 90-55, close out the non-conference. Look, they played really well. They shot it really well. They're shooting the three-point shot much better than they were, say, when they played UConn in Madison Square Garden. But they're starting to get it rolling from outside. They're putting in their free throws. It's incredible watching this team that if you watched Peja Stojakovic when he was in the NBA and now you're watching Andre Stojakovic, it is amazing that Andre is such a masterful offensive player and yet cannot shoot a deep ball to save his life. He's got a good stroke, but it doesn't go in ever. And Peja was, I don't want to say the opposite, but he was a torch from outside. So I still expect the shots to start going in for Andre Stojakovic a little bit more from deep. But if they're not going in, man, just keep doing what you're doing, get to the rim, because he's outstanding at literally everything else of offensive basketball. So it's good to see that Illinois is starting to get things rolling here a little bit. They absolutely killed Mizzou down in St. Louis last week. And, Big Z was just a menace defensively. I think they've got pieces. And if they can just put it all together consistently, they're going to be really dangerous in the Big Ten and in the national picture too once we come tournament time. But end of non-conference, 10-3. They're already 1-1 in the Big Ten, but now we've got 18 straight Big Ten games to finish out the year all the way into the second week of March. So it's a long stretch now. Speaking of Big Ten games, that slate, it starts on Saturday, and it starts against Penn State. This game is not in State College. It is in Philadelphia. Penn State plays a game at the Palestra every single year. Really cool venue. So tune in to watch just to see the Palestra. You don't see many games there. That's where Penn plays, but really cool spot. This is not a good Penn State basketball team. They have two guys that can score a little bit, Caden Mingo, Freddie DeLeon. Outside of that, there is not much there. They got boat raced by Pitt over Christmas, and Pitt is awful. Pitt is really bad, and they beat Penn State by 40. So you can see their national ranks here. They don't do much well, and they haven't defended a three one time this year. They're near bottom of the country in three-point percentage defense. That is very good for Illinois because all they do is shoot threes, and they're starting to go in now. So in that aspect, really like the matchup for Illinois against this Penn State team. The other good thing for Illinois is that Penn State's pretty small. They've got a 7-foot center, but he only plays about 20 minutes a game. And as you know, Illinois can trot out two 7-footers, a 6'10 guy, a 6'9 guy. They've got size everywhere. So huge size advantage for Illinois. They should be able to dominate on the glass, in the paint if they want to, and then get some open threes. And they knock them down, it's probably going to be a blowout. Even though, with that said, I know Penn State has had Illinois' number in basketball a little bit the last few years, but this is the worst Penn State team of the last few years. So take that for what it is. I think it's pretty clear I'm picking Illinois to win this game against Penn State on Saturday. Like I said, Penn State hasn't defended the three ball all year. Illinois shoots a million threes. If they go in, could be a 30-point win, and then size. Those are the reasons. Illinois is going to get off to a good start in this Big Ten slate. And Penn State, they played Michigan State tough a couple weeks ago, but it's not a good team. It's not a good team, and if you take away Caden Mingo, Freddie DeLeon, there's not much there on that team. Let's look at the next 5 games for Illinois basketball. This is a pretty good slate to open the rest of your Big Ten conference schedule with. Penn State, Rutgers, at Iowa, at Northwestern, Minnesota. You don't get any of the big dogs. You don't have to play Michigan or Purdue early on. At Iowa, at Northwestern, that's tough. But all 5 of these games, easily winnable. So, you can't really ask for much more from a scheduling perspective if you're Illinois basketball. Let's check in on the women's team. They're into Big Ten play now. Did anybody know that they're 12-1? They are, and they're playing really good basketball. They're averaging over 80 a game. They're blowing out teams. And then Barry Wallace, Maddie Weber, they're a really good 1-2 punch on the wings. And I just continue to be impressed by what Shauna Green is building over in Champaign with the women's squad. And, hey, if you didn't know, they welcome in a top 10 Maryland team into State Farm Center on New Year's Day afternoon, if you're interested. That stadium fills up a little bit more than it has recently with the women's team, and for good reason. 12-1, and looking to keep it going. They're not ranked yet, but they're getting votes. It's hard to break into the top 25 in women's basketball, but they're right there. I think they're maybe 30th in the country based on votes. So they're right there. If they keep it going, if they get a win over Maryland, that would be huge. But really exciting times, especially if you're an Illinois basketball fan. Both teams playing really well. Back here again next week. We can't stop. There's more to talk about every single week. We're going to be back here Wednesday. Make sure you let everybody know. We're on the W80 Now app. Really easy. You can download it on your smart TV, your phone, anything. It's really easy. Let everyone know. We'll see you back here again next week.